Okay, we're going to start the meeting now for the month of January. So it is now just about 2 o'clock. So if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will start our meeting. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I guess, Barbara, would you do a roll call for us, if you don't mind?
Yes. Ron Poligno.
Present.
Linda Randall. Here. Eve Southern. Abby is here. Eve.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Kathy's here.
Okay, so that's pretty good. We have a quorum. At present, I don't see any public to be concerned about or with, so we'll progress to the next line item, which is the approval of the past minutes of November 22nd. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, Eve, do we have a second? Eve? Eve's covers it, right? Okay, so we're done with that. We did check. Any reports? Senior Director's report. I have, thank you, Cindy. I have some notes from Michelle and Ronnie that I'm going to read, and then I wonder if after I read their minutes, would it be inappropriate to then get Jen to talk, to elaborate on that? We're just a little, okay. Okay, so Jen, I'm going to read what I have from Ronnie and Michelle, and then you can step in and explain, elaborate, and present whatever you have, okay?
That'll be fine.
Okay, so what I have from Michelle is that the things are happening on her end are it's budget grant and grant season. They're working on submitting their annual budget to maintain 3 grants for caregiver services and transportation services. Human Services Department is working with Youth Leadership Group in town, and they look forward to working and hosting a community mental health event with them in May. May is Mental Awareness Month. The Senior Center will have a booth there, and the youth group will be looking for senior volunteers to work the booth and implement the mental activity they create. Interesting. More info to come. As far as social services, it says, Social Services is busy taking applications for the Hearing Assistance Program. Pardon?
Heating assistance. Heating assistance.
Are you? Yes, heating. Sorry for that. Assistance program. I thought it was funny. If anyone would like to apply for the Heating Assistance Program, they can contact the Senior Center or Social Services directly for an appointment. And God bless you. Okay, and from Ronnie Mogensen, I have the following. These are the updates. The Senior Center will be collaborating with the Red Cross and the Trumbull Health Department on Friday, March 7th for a blood drive at the Senior Center. Appointments can be scheduled online at redcrossblood.org. ARP will be starting their free income tax assistance in February. Tax time, God. Appointments will be held on Wednesdays and Fridays at the Trumbull Library. Anyone interested in scheduling an appointment should call the main library at 203-452-5197. Appointments usually book up pretty quick, so they recommend calling as soon as possible. The Senior Center has a few new ongoing programs, including a poetry roundtable that meets the second and fourth Monday of every month at 10 a.m., and the music discussion group that will begin meeting in March on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. And that is the finish of what I have for Ronnie and Michelle. I'd like to introduce now Jen Gillis, if I may, who will hopefully elaborate on some of these offerings and what services she and her department provide. Jen?
That microphone, or you go up to the podium and then turn that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you gotta push the button at the base. There you go.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Jennifer Gillis. I am the Trumbull Social Services Coordinator. So I work under Michelle Jacob under the Human Services umbrella. and I'm here representing them today because their schedule is conflicted. So the programs that Ron just reviewed with the minutes are going on. It is grant season for us and budget season, so we're very busy putting programs together to present for the new budget, and also the grants that they're ongoing, so transportation and for the caregiver grants that we participate in currently. The AARP, I just want to stress how important that is, the AARP Tax Assistance Program that goes on. We are not able to do it in the senior center any longer, so the 2 days that are happening will be at the Trumbull Main Library. So all residents need to book directly through the library. The senior center is not able to book appointments for them, but they do, as Ronnie mentioned, it does fill up very quickly. So they will go right up to tax day, the Wednesday and the Friday right before tax day. They will be doing them consistently unless there is a snow issue and the schools are closed, and that day that they would be canceling those appointments through the library. But the library staff is who will be taking the appointments directly for those visits. Under social services, as Ron mentioned, it is the energy heating season right now. For those of you that are familiar with that program, it's called SEEP. It's the Connecticut Energy Assistance Program. So there are state and federal monies that come into that program, and it is open to anyone that meets the financial criteria. So right now it is an income-based program. So you have to prove gross income for the entire family household, anybody over the age of 18. There is criteria for documentation, but it helps assist a household with their assistance with their primary heating source. So if you're a household that heats with oil, or your household heats with gas or electric, if your household is deemed eligible, you can get a monetary award that would go directly to your vendor to help pay for possibly an oil delivery, or a credit to go towards your utility bills. It's an annual program. You must reapply and prove your eligibility each year. And it happens now during what they call the winter heating season. So it's not a calendar year program. It's actually a winter heating season. So it begins in November of 24. It will run into the spring of 25. Those are considered the winter moratorium months. So for those of you that heat with utilities, those are the winter protection months that they cannot shut you off. Hopefully that you're meeting all their criteria for that program. So it's not a calendar year. Some people get confused about when they need to apply. But it is an annual program. It's just not an annual calendar year program. In our office, we are the intake site for the town of Trumbull. The state has instituted, last year they did a public application that you can go online, so somebody does not need to sit face-to-face with somebody to do it. They can do it online, upload all their documentation into the state of Connecticut's DSS system. So it gives them a little more flexibility to do it, when they can. But it is, again, it's income-based, and it's per household. There's different criteria. Single-person household, two-people household. The income guideline, increases by the number of people that are in the house. So that's really taking up a lot of the winter months for me that we process those. So we've probably done about 150 applications already through my department. We're the ones that handle that. And the property tax program is going to be opening for the town and the state for the elderly property tax relief program that starts in February. I also help assist the tax assessor's office doing those, and going out and doing home visits for homebound residents that are not, able to come here, or they can come to the senior center to do a face-to-face with me. That's it, unless anybody has any questions. Those are the big things right now.
Jen, I have a question.
Yes.
I think one of the first things you mentioned that it's not going to be at the senior center. Is there any reason for that?
For the
tax program.
season,
Yeah.
there were some connectivity issues with them once they started doing applications online, and they were doing with the IRS. They were able to submit them electronically. There were some issues, I think, with the
okay.
internet situation, and that's kind of why they steered away from it. But they're still doing 2 days. It used to be 1 day at the senior center, 1 day at the library. They're just doing both days now, and that's been for the past couple of years. They have moved away from the center building, and they're doing them at the Trumbull Library.
Does that mean the library has a better communications department or facility than the senior center does?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't think it's a big deal, but just but that's good to know the reason why.
Yeah, there were some technology issues, I guess, for lack of a better phrase.
And we all have those issues occasionally,
Yes, we do.
don't we? Especially us at the senior center. Okay.
Thanks. Eve, did you have a question?
Yes, the heating program, is
Yes.
that only for seniors or is that open?
No,
to-
that is
that's-
open, that is open to anybody. You have to be pretty much over the age of 18. We can't have a child's name on a UI bill that's claiming to be the household. So it does need to be, somebody on that bill has to be in the household that is applying. But it is not just a senior program. It is open to anybody in regards to that. There's no age criteria. Yes.
I guess to follow up on that, all of these programs are income-based for need?
The energy assistance currently, since actually COVID, became income-based. It used to be income and liquid asset-based, but during COVID, the state made some changes. So now it is only gross, it's based on gross income per household.
Okay, so that works to the betterment of the population, I would think.
Yes and no.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's good. It's a help.
Yes.
And the same question about the property tax abatements. Is there an income qualification for that?
There is
as
an
well?
income qualification. That's a two-tier program, so there is a state level that people can qualify for. There is also a town level. So people could get basically two different level of benefits. The town level is set at $70,000 for gross income, and that is if you are a single-person household or a married couple or a two-person household, they could get that, or people that, it's around 40,000, I think right now, but don't quote me for that, for the state level. So some people, based on their income, could be eligible to get a bigger benefit because they would tick off the levels of each program.
So you could get both a state and
A town
Town.
credit. hmm
Thank you.
And that is also, that's 65 or above and or disabled through the Social Security
okay.
Administration, being a property owner, prior to December of last year, because it would be based on the 2024 income. Energy assistance is a little different for income that is based in current time. So if you're looking to do an application with me today, we're looking at what you're getting right now versus the property tax program, we're looking at the 2024 income. Okay, thank you.
Good, thanks, Jen. Appreciate that. The little sideline. Jen, forgive me for saying this, but Jen is a member of CERT, which is also our Community Emergency Response Team, which takes a little bit of time. And so Jen, aside from doing what she does here, volunteers in a lot of other areas. I know specifically for CERT because I've seen her at things. So thanks for that also, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's for the senior center. The Stern Village, Mrs. Mack, I don't see, and the chair report. I'm going to be kind of mixing a chair report maybe with a little bit of newer and old business. Can I do that? Is that okay? Okay. The reason being is that I was trying to make some cohesive time thing, and I have my little notes all over that I really can't keep too good track of. So, at any rate, we'll start with this. At the November meeting, I'm sure everyone is aware of, thanks to Kathleen Bordelin, we had Marie Allen from SWACA. And if I'm not mistaken, Kathleen, you're involved in SWACA to some degree?
I'm on the board and I chair the advisory council.
Okay.
As
The reason
Jennifer used to chair the advisory council, so I have big shoes to fill.
Oh. I told you she was involved in a lot of things. I think we also had said that we would be glad to provide some information or helping them provide information on their services, if I recall, because I think that's one of the things Kathy said, that she was having, maybe a little bit of difficulty with is getting the good words out of what SWACA does. And is that kind of accurate,
One of
Kathy?
the things I think is so great is this was recorded, and so I have heard from other people in the community that's terrific because they can actually watch this online.
Yeah.
So thank you for recording it. We do have a pretty active council, and every senior center is a really wonderful hub for communicating with seniors. And maybe we should have some links on the website. I don't know if we have that, but their website is really terrific, very robust.
Okay, I'm hoping I'm not putting you on the spot, but since this seems like a very worthwhile thing to work with, and there's a lot of things that I was never aware of, and there's many more things I'm not aware of, and since we're fortunate to have you on the commission, would you kind of be our point person with SWACA?
I'd be happy to.
If any questions come in from anybody on the commission, we got Kathy.
I would be happy to. One of the great
Thank you.
things about our advisory council, it's 14 towns, and so we built a really strong network. And what I think is really important is that each person in each town brings unique knowledge specific to that community, and we also share resources and information across the Lower Fairfield County. So it's a terrific network, and I'm happy to make any connections I can.
Good, appreciate that. So I think I had said, I haven't known Kathy, did we ever get the web address for that? I think we did last week, but I don't think I wrote down the web address for SWACA.
I think it's swcaa.org, is that right? I'm happy to email it so that
Oh,
you'll
yeah,
have it correctly with the links so that you can,
Yeah,
there's a terrific resources page which can be very useful.
okay. And then also, are there any thoughts on how we, as a commission, can use our platform to help them? Or no, we're going to leave that to you to determine.
I think as a conduit, right? I mean, because the choices counselors every year, you have to, if you're re-enrolling in Medicare and you want to do an update, there are folks who have done training and they can help people make good choices for their Medicare plans based on their individual needs. And I think that has saved people a lot of money. So I think when it comes to open enrollment time, that might be a really good way to, start getting the word out and to be helpful. Right? That's one very helpful thing.
That's the Medicaid, Medicare enrollment.
Well,
you speak.
Medicare enrollment.
Medicare, right, okay.
Yeah, Medicare.
Didn't that just wrap up? Was that been extended a little bit into the new year?
December
It's over?
7th.
gone. It's over?
October 15th. My
Okay.
birthday to December 7th. That's how we know.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I just try to lighten it up. Yeah, but Medicaid applications, those are very complicated. So typically not done by volunteers, but sometimes, right? No?
Through social services, we
So-
do all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In case you didn't,
Actually, Trumbull has a terrific group, and I think just calling social services in town will open the door to all of these things.
well, social services, that's you, Jan, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, great, good, okay. Yeah, that's progress. So we're covered with that, thank you.
Yeah, it's here.
Good to know. Paul?
I just want to observe that I was looking for help with Medicare in the open enrollment period, and I called, I thought early, but it had been fully booked up. And this was like less than a month in. So I don't know if there's anything you can do to make it more available or increase the dates, or are we sort of limited to what we
have
can offer?
counselors that come in and do one-on-one appointments.
Yeah.
So they do, because they're covering these 14 towns, so they're limited from, and they come directly from SWACA. But then we do refer out back to their regular offices for individual appointments. You
Okay,
can always call Medicare directly during that open enrollment period.
which is what I ended up doing.
The
Yeah.
telephone, you could do an online appointment, or you could see us individually as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess as frustrating as it was for you, Paul, at least you had a backup, which is good. Okay, for that. Kathy, is there any word, Kathy Katsky, is there any word on the progress on replacing Miss Nancy Lewis, who left us a short while ago because she moved to Shelton and deserted us?
I don't have anything yet.
Okay.
If anyone has any ideas, anyone who they think might, you know what? I might have somebody that we can try. But again, if there's anyone that any of you know that you think might be interested, let me know. It's hard to find people we have a lot of boards and commissions, a lot of seats that come open, and it's a lot of work to try to find people, so we do the best we can.
I'm glad, stay there if you would. I'm glad we kind of broached this subject because I think there was a comment, was the last meeting about changing possible commission times of the meetings. I don't want to say my opinion just yet. I don't want to prejudice anyone. But I kind of tend to think that since we're dealing with seniors, a meeting time during non-working hours shouldn't really be a problem unless we have other commitments. Kathleen, you might be busy with some other groups you're involved with, and I'm sure there might be one or two others here who we're involved in some groups with. But I don't know if they're primarily during the daytime hours. I just wanted
I
to...
still work full-time in Stamford.
Okay.
However, I have responsibilities across the town, and I have the ability to try to manage my time. When I'm unable to, I apologize, but I do try to, I can work from home on certain days, and then it's easy enough to come. And this is important to me.
Okay, no, that's good to hear, because I guess the biggest problem with getting people to meet during the daytime is other commitments, just like you said you have. But you're fortunate to have some control over your schedule. I guess the worst thing we could have as commission members is to not come that often and you miss quite a few, and then it becomes well, not a problem, but it's
I
a
think
concern.
August at 2 o'clock on a Friday is problematic for a lot of us, because we all kind of feel like it's the last month of summer, but, you know,
Isn't that our off month usually? August? July?
July,
We could do July and August.
whatever.
We don't want to do that.
And I think also
I'm sorry.
Michelle had talked about 2 o'clock being difficult for
For her.
her.
Yes.
So maybe even, I don't know if 3 o'clock would help, if people are able to do that. Could have a conversation with Michelle and see if that would work.
Well, as far as Michelle goes, as Michelle is very good at getting to whoever has to be aware of what she's doing, either yourself or me. We're usually like that little thing from her today. So there is a way of dealing with it. It's a shame we don't have her presence all the time. So I could see
she
that
has
as
a lot of good information
yeah.
at hand.
And unfortunately, a lot of it comes up when a question is asked.
Right,
You just don't know what to touch on.
right.
But does anybody have any comments on caring to change anything, or just leave it status quo? Or Lynn?
Yeah. Would it help if more meetings were at the senior center? And specifically, like, say, in the morning? Just a thought. I think we talked about that at one time, and it was a no.
Yeah, and I'm curious why we said no. I guess we didn't want to give the impression that the senior center was kind of guiding our schedule and agendas, which it isn't, but it's a part of, obviously. I don't know.
I think it is a
Lynn.
good idea to do some of your meetings there. I think moving the time around might be confusing for people like me.
Well, did we schedule any this year? I don't.
Wasn't
It's been so long, I
Was
forgot.
it 10 o'clock?
For years.
Maybe 10 o'clock?
It was in the
Oh, the conference
Long
room by
Hill-
the.
room.
Yes.
And that was a good time.
Yeah, morning's always a good time.
Here or the center here?
No, here on Fridays.
Yeah, the
But
meeting
in the morning.
the meeting room outside the first selectment's office.
I kind of think in the morning on Fridays is interfering with some activities at the senior center.
Yeah, that's true.
And if we want to get more people, or somebody else replace Nancy, that might be a problem.
Well, I wouldn't be I want to go with the consensus of the group, but I don't think any activity at the senior center will really impinge or be a problem with us. It's just a room, basically.
Might be a location situation inside the building, like in the mornings, because there are a lot of activities,
Yeah, I don't think
going on.
I don't think it'd pose a real problem, though.
No, I mean that for me on Friday mornings, I do an activity at the senior center, and if I wanted to mention to somebody in that group,
You don't play pickleball, do you?
I do.
Those people.
And if we wanted to bring somebody from that group maybe to replace Nancy, that might be an issue, because I had thought about somebody from there.
Well, maybe we'll just table it, give it some thought. Maybe you get some, I don't know, a brainstorm that may say a rationale of why or why not. I mean, I have my feelings. I kind of like it the way it is, but I'm open to, if this is what the consensus of the commission is, we'll just go along with it. So, Kathy?
Is one of your concerns making sure that more seniors, consumers, public participate?
That has never been an issue or a
Okay.
problem. You can see the crowd we have here at this meeting. This is pretty much the average meeting.
Well, I just meant if it was at the senior center, you might have more public comment because people are already there and you're hosting the meeting where people are, and then that they would be more engaged potentially. I don't know if that's a factor. I just asked the question.
I'm going to go back, and memory may be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, they used to have quite a few meetings at, excuse me, at the senior center, and it kind of became like an argument session or a complaint sessions. So they said, well, it's not constructive to have that many dissenting people in the audience throwing comments out during the meetings. And I think that's one of the reasons why they were kind of cut down, if not eliminated from the center. I may be wrong with that, but that's just my...
So
Okay,
maybe
thank you.
I would propose that there be a quarterly listening sessions at the senior center that might be conducted by a few of us that are separate from an official meeting. That would just be the opportunity for people at the senior center to express a frustration or an issue or a concern, and then we could bring it back to this body.
That's worth pursuing with Michelle, I would think,
Yeah.
or Ronnie perhaps,
Okay.
to set something up like that at a future meeting. But let's not make anything definitive today. You know, we'll just kick it around. It's a good thought, and we'll just keep on going with that. What I have-
May I interrupt briefly?
Sure, please do.
So I have a couple of meetings I have to get to, unfortunately, but I did want to give you a little bit of information about something that we're doing up in the First Selectman's office. Is that okay?
Sure.
So I've just begun to work on a postcard to send out to our senior community. Especially when COVID started, we sent postcards out. We did some that were directly targeted to seniors and some that went to everybody. But even though we have so many means of communication at our disposal, getting information out to people is more difficult than ever. It's a constant challenge. So these postcards that are targeted toward our senior population, we think, are a good way of giving them important information. So the topics that I have, and I don't know how much we're going to be able to fit on one postcard because it's space is at a premium. They're not big. But I have the GBT bus microtransit program, which I think could be useful. A little something about being wary of scammers that are out there. That's a huge problem. The senior tax relief application period that's beginning on February 15th, which Jen talked about. Just urging them to join the senior center. Maybe telling them about the Commission on Aging, that it exists. They can watch your meetings and any other town meetings
That's good.
on YouTube or TCTV. And also an update on the senior/community center, which is one of the items on your agenda. But if you have any other thoughts, things that might be important, you can certainly let me know. And we can see if we can fit everything. Because you don't want to make the typeface too small either, because I can't read it.
Going out.
Mr. Chairman?
Expected rollout date.
You know, it's hard to say. I would hope it would go out within the next month. Yes.
Mr. Chairman? Cindy, are you locked into a postcard format? That seems like an awful lot to get on a postcard. Could you do like a trifold or something?
Well, it comes down to cost as well. The postcard site, there's a postcard
Great.
mail rate versus an envelope or a trifold. We can look at that. We can certainly look at that.
Because they all seem like valuable topics to me, but
Yeah.
you're right, they'd be 4-point type.
Yes, but we try to be very judicious in our wording and give them numbers to call, websites to go to for more information, because you can't put everything. And we do have a few that we've sent out in the past, so we sort of have templates or, what has worked in the past.
Nice. I like that. Cindy, I have I guess a question. Where did mailing list data come from? The tax rolls?
Yes.
At the point of sounding lazy, would it be inappropriate to ask if you could make that list available to us should we ever need it for mailings?
Well, I work with Michelle, and I know she's got a database as well.
But just membership, I think.
Don't think it's just membership. It might be more than that. I'll have to check with her.
Okay.
But I would have to check on that. I mean, what would you want it for? To do your own mailing, or?
I would venture to say probably in the future sometime, yes. I just don't know when or for what at this moment. But as long as the data is accessible and readily available, that's key. And that's what I was asking, because I
Yeah.
think we had spoken about sometime, how do we get all this information from? Do we go to the tax? Will they sort down seniors only for us to give us various information? But if it's going to be done once, and that list would, I think, be pretty consistent for a couple of years.
Mr. Chairman? Ms. Cindy, do we have access, as a commission, do we have access to this town voter list? We get,
I think
Could ask for it.
any citizen has access to the town voter list.
okay, so if we
I
could
think it's
download
public
it, we could slice
information.
and dice it. I presume it has stuff like age and all that information typically.
Oh,
Yeah,
tax records, sure.
I don't know how much information it would have, but
But if you've got the list once, we then have it, theoretically, so that's good.
I mean, it's
good.
a useful tool as long as we're not violating people's
Right.
privacy.
right.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay, with that, I think
You
I
said
have
you had to
to
leave, yes.
make my exit.
As always, Cindy, thank you.
I'm sorry I can't stay the whole
Nope,
time.
not a problem. We'll miss you, bud.
Thank
okay.
you for everything you do.
Thank you for all your help that lets us do it. Okay, continuing on. I'm sorry. Jen.
Just add on to what. That's okay.
I think that I turned it off.
If I could just add on to what Cindy mentioned in regards to the postcard and the scam information. We've just confirmed a date for the senior center program with the social services and the police department to do a scam awareness, fraud, and AI presentation in the beginning of April as a lunch and learn. So yeah, so I just want to let you guys know that that's in the works, that we're working to make that up to date with everything that's been going on.
That's nice. It's funny you talk about that. I pulled out a card from the Jewish Senior Services in Bridgeport for scams and frauds. And they printed this card up and had useful resources on the back, and I don't know how I came across it, but this is one of the things that you kind of throw in your little folder, and the opportunity presents itself, you talk about it. So that's good that that came up. Glad that someone else is looking at these things too. Okay, so we don't need that. Progressing onward. We have eliminated the commissioner's secretary position. I'm sure everyone's aware of that. And I guess if anything comes up relative to anything that we are involved with or care to get involved with, if anybody wants to send a card or a letter to an appropriate group, I guess with the okay of the commission, feel free to do it or talk about it. So since we have no secretary to do anything formally, it's going to be up to us to be aware of that. My birthday is in May, by the way. I have a note here that it's kind of new. And I say, any project or task should be or will be assigned to a person. Now, I know that sounds it's not meant to be that. It's kind of like with Kathy and SWACA. Something comes up, you have an interest in it, and you'd like to be the point person for that. I'd like it to be that way rather than to be, we talk about it, it's a great idea, but nobody really says, well, I'll do it, or someone does, and then you forget. It's just, it's kind of difficult, but if we get some kind of, I don't know, somewhat informal formality, just to, accept responsibility for following up on some things. Because I know myself, I forget a lot. I'm allowed to, I'm over 30. Okay, and one of the things I have is any topics to get speakers in for. And I had that it should be a regular occurrence. We're trying to get a speaker in at each meeting, like we have Jen today. I have a couple of notes here, like the police. And I think it was mentioned didn't Cindy mention something about the police? Check.
They're going
with scams,
They're going
yeah.
to participate in a workshop on scams and fraud.
Yeah, and I think that plays into what maybe I was thinking along in here. I have traffic basics for drivers, maybe an introductory meeting by a police person to talk about all the things that are involved in town that involves senior citizens, scams, traffic, pedestrian walkways, how to be careful in the marked walkways in the street that aren't always observed by drivers. I mean, there's so many little things that we can kick around and talk about. And I would like to see that as kind of a regular thing. I mean, does anybody know anybody in the police department, have a relative in the police department, would care to chew on that one? All right, well, I'll address that one. I'll follow up on that one. Michelle, regarding legal issues or services, talk at the Center for, you spoke about that already, Jen, I think.
Sorry, what did you say?
I have a little note that Michelle, regarding legal issues or services, either talk at the center or for the commission, just for the public. And I think you had addressed that. Okay, so that's covered.
Mr. Chairman, that maybe have Parks and Rec come in and talk about exercise opportunities for seniors, both formal and
definitely,
the sorts
yeah.
of resources that are available.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, all the programs that they offer during the summer times too.
Yeah.
Paul, would you like to follow up with
Sure.
Dimitri? Thank you. I love it. Way to go,
May I ask
Paul.
a question? If the goal is to disseminate this information in the broadest possible way, and having it at this meeting may not reach the kind of public that you're trying to reach. So I'm wondering if we might think broadly about these issues that should be in front of the public, and whether the senior center, social services, and the library would take some of our recommendations and put them into their calendar, because the library has a very broad reach, and it reaches adult children of seniors who might be interested in fraud and scams as well as some of these other things. And it might have a bigger, it might reach a broader audience based on, our putting together some
Yeah.
suggestions for a calendar of informational sessions that might be collaborated on by people who come together with expertise from the police department, Parks and Rec, the senior
Right.
center. But the library seems like a great place to host that, because they are open to the whole community, and so many more people walk in and out of there, as opposed to our commission meeting.
Following up
I
on
agree with that.
I think we could sponsor it, but hold it at the library, so it's under our aegis. But the library does reach out to a lot more people with their their weekly newsletters and stuff.
Well, what I was going to say is that, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't the senior center do some of those things on occasion throughout the year? Like to have elder lawyers come in and various things, and I don't specifically remember a scam coming in, but I know they had police people speaking on occasion.
I coordinate with the police department. We do one every year
Okay.
for the scams and updates with them, but also the educational series, yes, that's stuff that we do regularly. Broadening the catchment area would be a good idea.
And it's an add-on to that. If I'm not mistaken, lots of times there's a duplicate programming between the senior center and the library, where there may be
That I'm not,
I think I remember a speaker who had taken a trip to Greece or somewhere, or whatever country, and he was available to both facilities at different times during the year, though not back to back or very close. So it's a little bit different. But there's a lot of commonality between what the library does, what the senior center does, as far as putting on public programs of interest for groups. And I think the library, because the library is the library, they have more of a consistent draw of people, as opposed to the I don't know, 50 to 100 people a day that utilize the senior center. I think there's probably more traffic in the library. I may be wrong with that. That seem right? Anybody? No? I mean, I have no idea the traffic in the library at this point. No, it could be worth finding out. I'll talk to Stefan about that. Find out. Okay, well, all right, we'll put that to bed for a little bit. Regarding the VFW First Responders Facility, the current word that I have on that is that the bids are put together, and if not out to bid already, they will be submitted within the next 2 weeks. There's probably going to be a 4 to 6 week time frame to reply back, another couple of weeks to evaluate, and then to award the bid. Assuming all of that happens, maybe we were looking at April, May timeframe for possible starting of the building. I spoke with Graham Bassett, and he seemed to be very optimistic that they may have some meaningful structure up by the end of this year, and early next year. So that's close to fruition, and that is with minimal to no town money. The town, if I'm not mistaken, did volunteer. No, they offered to clean the lake up and to put some shrubs around the lake to clean it up a little bit. And I think there was some early seed money that they gave, less than $200,000 or something. But at any rate, the bulk of the money has come from donations, selling different things at the I guess we could call it a center too. I want to call it just a VFW, but maybe it's not fair. At the new facility, naming rights of a room, naming rights of a bench outside on the deck, little things like that, which is still ongoing. Okay, I had a request from someone. I don't really know who it was, but I have it. I think it was Mark. Yeah. It's Mark. Mark had raised a question. Where's his question? At any rate, I think I sent an email to the group that this is in response to Mark's suggestion to respond about the Grace location of what it is and what will happen and what the timeframes might be. So I could say this being on that commission. Is it a commission? Yeah, Facilities Commission. Yeah, it is a commission. This is in response to Mark's suggestion. The Grace location at present is our preferred site. It is not a given that that will be the site. Many people think it's a done deal. It ain't. So at any rate, it will more than likely be recommended to the town council for the final approval. But that will only come after certain things take place. Before the above can happen, a traffic study has to be completed. Currently started this week do I have a date on this? Yeah. January 14th is the date of this email. So I said that before this can be, the traffic study has to be completed. It's currently started this week or next. So the middle of January, it should be completed. It only takes about a week or so. The results will then be presented to the committee on 2/11. Hang on, right, page 2. Page 2. Then it goes to P&Z on February 18th for 824 approval, which basically says the building is suitable to be put on that plot of land in that location. That's not tacit approval that it is a done deal. Did I mention about environmental studies? The environmental study has to be done also, and I'm not sure if it's going on concurrently with the traffic or not, but those two things have to be done. Then it goes to P&Z, like I said, on February 18th for the 824 approval. Then cost estimates will be presented to the committee by the end of February by the architects. On March 15th, approximately, the town council will be presented with the design and preliminary costs for acceptance. If it is accepted and approved, then we go into bid preparation. We advertise the bids. We do the bid letting to the responsible bidders. Then there's acceptance and review of the bids. And the bids come in, by the way, for the lowest responsible bidder. And that plays a lot of funny things, the way how people interpret that. But it's the lowest responsible bidder, which is done in keep costs down, obviously. There's the review of the bids after that, and finally the awarding of the bid. Town council will discuss and approve the anticipated costs and then discuss a referendum, if it ever gets to that point, which we hope it does. The above might not be the exact sequence of what is to happen, but the steps and terms are not final. But we are closing in on the senior center and community center. And that's what I think I sent everybody in the group. Did I send that to you? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So that's updates and things. And we did that. We did the facilities.
Chairman,
Yes.
just on the senior center, I did schedule a meeting with the Long Hill Village abutters, the people in Long Hill Village, to discuss it. And Lori was going to come. Unfortunately, it was the day of the snowstorm, so I had to cancel it, and now Lori's out for, Lori Hayes O'Brien.
Right.
is-
She's the commissioner,
CD chair.
chair of that commission, right?
She's out for a couple of weeks because she's having some foot surgery. So sometime middle of February, we will have another session for the residents of Long Hill Village and just them to address their particular concerns.
Are you aware that the building committee has surveyed that land in 2 groups already with the residents of Long Hill?
This is
Okay.
just a meeting at the clubhouse at the village for people who weren't able to attend. Because when we did the walkthrough, it was only the immediate
Do
abutters.
you live there?
Yes, I do live there.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so
you're well
it was
aware.
only the immediate abutters and 1 or 2 others.
Yeah.
So this is for there's 72 families that live there, so anybody can come. But it's only for Long Hill Village.
If
I
a
just
two-
want to let you know that's happening.
if a 2-bedroom unit comes open or a 2-story building unit, let me know about it.
I'll do my best.
2 bedrooms. I like that facility. And there was a question, by the way, I think, from the residents if we would build a walkway. And I think the architects responded back that it wasn't up to them to build a sidewalk from the community to where the center might be. But that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think the issue there is having a third access to the site for emergency vehicles, which would have to be paved.
That's
and
still being
gated.
spoken. I think the next.
So
yeah.
that would become a walkway essentially, if it were done. But at the moment, it's still up in the air.
Yeah, I don't think we have approval yet of the police department and the fire department at this point.
Yeah.
But that's coming. I had forgotten you lived there. It's cool. I like that. I did meet, I met an interesting little woman who was a civil engineer in her past life, and I always told chat with her. I like her. She's a cute little lady. I'm sure you know who I'm speaking about. Okay. Oh, I have guest speak. I kind of lump these together. It is open. Guest speaker suggestions and concerns of and concerns for seniors. Police, legal, SWACA, in conjunction with the center, which we had spoken about already. So we covered with that. But the guest speaker suggestion, I think, is a great idea. If anybody has any specific group of any interest to the community, bring it up and we'll talk. I think the police is a definite go. I think a legal aspect is a definite go. I got in trouble a while ago when I invited the owner of a home healthcare kind of facility, and we qualified it that it's not going to be an advertisement. Feel free to say who you are and what you represent, but what you offer. The reason he was given a little bit of stage time is because he always sponsored things at the senior center, be it a lunch, be it a cake, be it a birthday, and those things mean a lot to the people. As a matter of fact, I get a kick out of when it's May, my birthday month, the senior center, like I'm on the list of birthday people. I mean, it makes you feel like you're getting older, obviously, but it's kind of nice. And the cakes aren't that bad either. But my wife makes it a small piece. I don't like that. Okay, I think I've touched on everything that I had on the list. I got 3A, 2A, 2A, that one. I did that one. I don't know how to broach this topic, but I want to. Linus, I think regarding the conversation we had about replacements. I, like many older people, are kind of, I don't want to say set in my ways, but we have opinions and beliefs in certain areas that everyone doesn't relate to. If you mention something to a younger person, they'll say, you're crazy. But as they grow through the years, your craziness will kind of lessen a little bit and almost become somehow a little bit of wisdom, or, hey, how did you know that? And it's just that growing through things, you learn a lot. And as you get older, one of the things you really learn is that how set you become in your ways. And I don't know if that's good or bad. And what I tried to do occasionally in the past with some of the commissions, I had stepped down from the chair on one occasion, and there was Mary Isaacs. Anybody know her name? She's on, I think, the town council. She will wear you down. You get her involved in something, she's going to see it through, and it's going to be done right. So Mary was a great person. She did not want to be the chair. Somehow she relented and says, "Okay, I'll do it." That only lasted about 1 or 2 months or meetings, because she was then running for election for the town council. I'm glad that she got in. She's good at doing what she's doing where she is. So she stepped on. And then there was another girl that's an old guy thing, I apologize. There was another woman on the committee who was relatively younger, I think maybe 60-ish, if that. Marcy, don't get mad at me. We'll just lose her first name. It was Marcy. She was a good woman. She was involved. She worked. I think she helped out in her church or something. Her husband was involved in politics, so she had a lot of awareness of what was going on. And I liked that. I thought they were like younger minds, younger thinking. They look at things a little differently, maybe a little more energy. But, then things came up in Marcy's life that changed, and we had to revert back to, I think I stepped in because nobody wanted it at that point. But at any rate, I think it's good. I don't like things to be always with one person's outlook. I think you have to have a catalyst in the group, if not many catalysts in the group, to get the right things put forward. We all think we're all heroes in our own minds. I often say that. And you can relate to that, though, right? But at any rate, just give that some thought. So if an opportunity presents itself in the commission, just be aware of that. We're trying to bring in different people of different backgrounds. The shame of it is we don't have any say-so about that, unfortunately. It's at the first selectman's purview to do that. I've often, not complained, but I mentioned that. How come we don't have any input to that? But in hindsight, maybe if we did, our prejudices would come out, be they good or bad, of the kind of person we would like. Like, I would like someone who baked a lot of cookies and loved to bake and bring things in for the meetings, but that doesn't happen. But at any rate, okay, I think I'm rambling about this. But just give that some thought about any input relative to new members. Lynn?
Yeah, I think the one thing you mentioned had to do with age. So when you start putting numbers on that, that's when I mentioned that's discriminatory.
Well, you have to be over 55 to be on the senior commission.
Well, I know, but I mean, you can't say you want someone between 55 and whatever, because that's.
I gave a range.
You gave a range. And if you took the range away, No. But you put numbers down.
Valid point.
That's discriminatory.
Okay, I guess there's a way of defining it maybe more tactfully.
I understood it. We just can't do anything about it that way.
Yeah. Did I ever send back I agreed with you with that? I think I have to agree with you. There's even no room to argue with that. Yeah, it's basically age discrimination.
Yeah.
Which is what we are against.
Of course.
Except when we're looking for different things. No. Eve.
I'm not sure this is exactly tying into what you said, but I've been approached by a few people at the senior center, and they feel that we have wonderful programs there that I think Ronnie does a great job, but they feel that the senior center is missing the boat for 55 to, let's say, 70-something. And I have thought about it, but I don't know what type of activity it would involve, but they feel that we're not drawing enough for a younger senior. Some of it is the building, without a doubt. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. And and some of it is the lack of the right program to attract that person. There's a lot of younger seniors that are not participating at the senior center, and I'm not quite sure why.
One thing that was presented to me was the fact is that there's too much being done about medical things. And this is, seniors consider themselves, it's an active group. There's no question about it, you know. And so it seems to be this focus of a lot of things having to do with medical, you know.
I guess the sad part is that medical, when you get over a certain age, starts to play a very important part of your life. And I agree that maybe there's too much emphasis on that. But how do you get say, a 55-year-old person on the commission? They're probably working, or they have some kids at home they've got to stay with and growing, or pick up kids and doing all kinds of family activities. That's a whole different lifestyle, I think. And but yeah, that's a legitimate problem that we have to try to address. That's what I think I was getting with people. I don't know how you do that. I mean, look, we're here, thank God that we can be here. How many people at the senior center could get up the stairs or the elevator
Well, I
and
think,
walk into here and sit and chat and have a conversation?
Well, I think a lot.
I think, if I may, a new senior center would definitely attract
Yeah.
different people. I think you have to have the people to do the programming, administer the programming, so there is personnel and funding. But the space over there is, I think you all have to say, it is not an adequate space. You know, it's a decaying place. It's it's not an attractive place. It's attractive because the people are wonderful.
Amen to
But
that.
as a place to go, I mean, where was I? I was at the Darien Senior Center today. Well, I mean, okay, it's a whole other deal. Right? Westport is a very different kind of place.
Well,
And I think senior centers need to be reinvented. It's not just bingo, right? It's a place to bring people together for ideas and education and sharing, right? And you play pickleball. I'd love to learn how, but it's terrifying. So I think a new space would be a wonderful, I mean, you could reimagine it. And that's why the concept of it being called a community center stops being, oh, it's for people who go there to play bingo, because it's kind of an old-fashioned notion, right? Or share their battery life experience for their pacemaker. These are real conversations, but that's not necessarily driving the programming. I don't think they'd have trouble coming up with more programming, but that does mean you need people to run those things, right? And that sometimes requires additional funding for the personnel. But the space is a concern, right? You don't have much space, so you're.
It is, but it's going to be at least 2-3 years before that
At
building
least,
is
at
ready.
least.
So in that time frame, isn't there something we can do to change programming somewhere along the line
Yeah.
to attract that?
I think we're getting outside of our
Maybe.
goal and purpose here. That
Oh.
You're coming down to senior center issues. Right?
Aren't we advisory for the senior center? I mean, no?
To a degree, yes, but I don't know if we can. It couldn't hurt to talk about it with Michelle. But as far as having any real constructive ability to make any changes or
Oh.
implement any programs, I don't foresee us getting that involved in that.
No, I was approached by a few people, so I felt I should bring it up.
Well, I
because it is
think
a
the
concern.
people assume that we are still the Senior Center Commission, which was our previous name. And we did have responsibility for them. We even had some financial accountability for them. But all that changed in the wisdom of whoever.
I'm sure, I'll chat with Ronnie, but I think there are other communities where they're doing what they call a senior center without walls and bringing programming out into the community to other locations. And that's kind of a conceptual thing.
That's
Again, it
interesting.
may come down to bandwidth.
You mean like perhaps using the schools in the afternoons after our early afternoon, late
other
afternoon?
places, other locations, other, virtual or, But anyway, it's not necessarily today's topic, but it's interesting and could use some brainstorming because sometimes it takes time to build those things up and then attract the funding and the rationale and how are you going to produce it. So, maybe there's a small task force of interested parties that could like to say, imagine the possibilities. Let's create a possibilities map of the future senior center kind of programming that people find interesting.
That's why God invented Michelle and Ronnie.
I know.
Bad choice of words. I'm trying to look now. We touch on everything?
Mr. Chairman, just on that last point, I think one way to do that would be to have night events, but that does run into a real, I know from having talked to Michelle, it's a real problem to staff the place at night. It's a significant cost.
Along with that then comes into the area of the community center aspect.
Yeah.
So
Which is why we
that's-
want a combo.
Okay, I'm kind of hesitating and whatnot because I think that was one of the issues that we've always had with the senior center / community center was like nighttime activities, traffic, headlights, and various other things. I mean, I know the architectural rendering is trying to address some of those issues specifically for the neighboring community. As a matter of fact, I think we spent one of the people who spoke. And there are a lot of interesting people that speak at those meetings from, is it Longcroft?
Long Hill.
Close, Long Hill. Was like the lights. They were afraid there were going to be parking lights like a 20-foot tower of lights, but that's not the case. I think there's something like maybe 15 feet high with they call a zero light bleeding or outward. The light's directed strictly downward. So there's minimal impact. The parking area, well, the back parking area is supposed to be kind of like in a valley, theoretically, not theoretically, with about a 6 or an 8 foot berm on either side to hopefully break the light going into the Long Hill. So there's I don't know, there's a lot of things that have to be addressed yet. And the
But
shame,
if I may, Mr. Chairman, to your point, to the point of bringing in younger seniors, because many people work evenings are their only recreational time. And so I think it speaks to the role of the senior center as a community center and being open after 5 o'clock. And I know from my own experience, there's some resistance to that, but I think I think if the programs that would happen after 5 o'clock were detailed and outlined for people, I think there would be considerably less resistance. I think they're worried about teenagers hanging out and drinking and that kind of stuff, which is not what's envisioned at all.
no.
And I think that's a message that we can take to the various people we talk to when this topic does come up, because it's in our interest to get a new senior center.
I think did Dimitri Paris make a presentation for us once? He's the director of Parks and Recreation, and I think that's playing directly into what your question is. I think if there is any nighttime activities, I guess the building responsibility would be Michelle's, but the programming and whatnot within the center, if it is to be done, would be with Parks and Recreation, because they will have an office in that building.
Well, I think more to the point from my conversations with Michelle is they will have a person on site, so she won't have to have a person on site other than whoever's running the programs. A janitorial and security would be provided by Parks and Rec, even though the programming might be senior center programming or under the auspices of the senior center.
It's possible. I never looked at it that way. I just assumed that senior center would kind of wrap up at early afternoon, early evening, if that.
Again, well, look, to your point about reaching out to younger seniors, that I think evenings become more in play then.
Well, I think my point about reaching out to younger seniors regarding the senior commission, the Commission on Aging that wasn't here.
Okay.
Well, just to bring up a point, Holy Family provides interns a lot to the senior center that work down at the cafeteria. We recently got a new girl, I think her name is Gina. Nice young girl. She's young. I looked at her, I thought she was a high schooler. She looked so young. But at any rate, she's going to be playing pickleball with the people. Gianna. What I call it, Gia? Okay. Yeah, but so that, it's not that. So she's going to be participating with. There's some older people I guess could hopefully give her a run on the court. No.
She's lovely.
Yeah, she's a nice kid.
Yeah, she's
I shouldn't say
an intern
kid.
from Sacred Heart.
Yeah. Which we get a lot of interns from there. Then some of them are really nice people, And they will not so much, they will help log people in, check the list of those who made a reservation and whatnot, handle the contributions, and they'll also run around the tables and sit and chat with the people. And that's really interesting to see. They get a whole different perspective on things. Okay, we're rambling. At least I'm rambling, so I apologize for that. The one thing we wanted to not talk about, but just touch on, we didn't mention, I didn't want to beat Cindy up about it, but the volunteer program, the reimbursement, the tax abatement, or whatever we call it, I wanted to mention, would there be of any value to putting it in like 100 hours of qualified, 100 hours work for the sake of the $600 tax credit, but put on it some qualifications? I mean, obviously it's got to be a senior, but I'm not sure who it was, or I don't think I thought of this myself. I think somebody mentioned it. I'd like to take credit for it because I think it's a good idea. Have an income limit. If you make above, say, I don't know, $100,000, maybe a lot or whatever, but you're excluded from getting that tax credit. If you want to volunteer, you can still volunteer, but it's gratis. I mean, which is actually the goal of volunteerism, if you will, is doing things for no personal gain or compensation. The thing that I kind of believe is that since it was implemented by the town, started in about 2017, and has been going on for so long, I think it's a good thing. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think, well, this is something that the town came up with. This
Yes.
is a very simple program for seniors over 65, with the idea of maybe having more people come out and so forth. And in a way, it's almost like we're making too much out of it and expanding this thing, And,
a good point.
many of us, we didn't even know about it, and we volunteered. And then we
Right.
found out after we were there a couple of years that there was money to be had.
Yeah.
That's
My
not-
wife and I put 3 years in and we found out about it.
Well, yeah, it's a little
So-
more than I put in, and so forth. But I think, and then when it came up about talking about whether this was income and so forth, and so, that someone said, that we're complicating it. And then we come up with what about a volunteer who doesn't live in town, or lives in town but doesn't own property? So it's like we're making all these layers out of this little simple program that the town came up with. And then there's also the issue of trying to get more volunteers, and could volunteers be taking over some jobs? And the town is union. Employees are unionized, right? I think so.
Well,
Right? I think so. And so would volunteers be taking over a job that somebody's getting paid?
No.
So I think this simple program, this little program that's been around many, many years,
I kind of sense what you're saying. Maybe we should just drop it.
well, I'm not saying to drop it. I'm saying I would drop it. Really.
It's not broken.
No,
It is not at maximum use
no.
at this point. I don't see the point of trying to engineer it to do something. It's not already at capacity. And
No.
I think it's a terrific program. Maybe people take turns, right? I think, is that an issue that same volunteers are kind of using more hours and other people don't have the opportunity? That's the only gap that I see. That maybe that, once you've hit your 100 hours, you let somebody else have that slot. And I'm not close to it on the ground, but it's not a broken thing. And I know we went through the numbers, and I think it's only operating at 50% capacity of what it could be. So I don't think we have to re-engineer anything here. I think maybe Ronnie and Michelle would make some recommendations to tweak it or make improvements. But it is working, and it's a unique program in all of Fairfield County.
I've been out of the food pantry for, it's going to be pushing 6 weeks. I don't know, nobody's coming and saying, don't show up in a couple of weeks, right?
And
It's
we
not
miss,
that
and we
easy.
miss you desperately.
You know, nobody has, I haven't gotten the phone call. Yeah. Well, no, I don't. I mean, that's it. But I mean, nobody's calling me on the phone saying take another 6 weeks off. Not yet. Maybe you could help me. Really, it's hard to get volunteers. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to be volunteers, but you know, do go through them, I guess.
Okay, like I was saying, for when we get older, we have set ways and things. But what I will say now is that if it's a general consensus that it's creating an issue more than the group thinks it's worth, I'll just back off and drop it. I mean, I just thought it'd be more of an incentive to get more people involved. But again, boy, this is are we overstepping? Oh, wait. Am I overstepping our bounds?
I don't think you're overstepping. I mean, you're pursuing all the options and ideas and so forth. I mean, I think it's great. And I think the idea of maybe getting more volunteers in town, because maybe volunteers will volunteer in other departments and so forth. Doesn't appear that that is happening. I don't know, maybe that's my perception.
I tend to think that if I were a department manager in a town and I had to take on volunteers, does that mean your department's understaffed and you need more people? And you can't ask for more people because that would raise your budget, and your budget is kind of like, it's always been this, we're not going to increase it too much. You make the squeaky wheel. Is the squeaky wheel going to get the grease, or is it just going to get pushed
Well,
aside?
The other part of that too is volunteers are not the easiest people to manage.
I beg your pardon.
Well, they're not.
Yeah, no, it's true. I don't know. I guess that's a
Well, it's
happy.
a whole entity into itself. I mean, you know, managing volunteers.
Maybe it's just too much ado about nothing. Paul?
I was going to say, I kind of agree with Kathleen. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, it seems to be doing, to some extent, what it was intended to do. And a lot of people are volunteering and not looking for the $600. So
It is working well. There are enough people, I think, always available. I mean, I don't think the kitchen has ever really had any real problems, or the cafeteria eating room has had any real problems. The only one I think is the hardest area, and people might not realize it, is the food pantry.
Well, we don't consider it hard.
Well, I'm thinking like unloading the cars when they come in with all the groceries and the fruits and
Well,
the
yeah.
veggies.
I mean, there are some intense times. There's no question about that. But it's not hard. There's nothing difficult.
No, on certain days, if we get a big delivery, it's
you
hectic.
know.
Yeah.
We
Well, you could
prob-
use more help than you have.
Well, we only have so much space for help too. I mean,
Well.
we just don't stand around.
Maybe we'll adjust that space issue soon.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, okay. I'm just going to let that lay a while and just see what shakes out. Talk to Michelle and Ronnie, I think, because they're the key people. I mean, the biggest thing that I find where we are here is what can we really do? And what we can really do is, I don't want to say de-emphasize the senior center, but know our place in dealing with them. And maybe this isn't our place. You know, I may think it, but it's not the reality of it. It's not for us to determine that. But I think I do know that Ronnie had said, she lives in Darien, I think, or some, Darien is going to implement a program similar to what we have. I don't know if they have it started yet. I don't know if there'll be any financial incentive or not. But that might be an interesting point then maybe to kick it around. So maybe I should just, I was going to say back off, better words, just shut up and wait and see what happens with Darien. And then if nobody's complaining, like Paul had said, if it ain't broke, why are we fixing it?
Just some history on Darien. I think Jennifer might remember this, but we talked about this program, I think, when you were chair of the council. And everyone from all the towns were like, wow, that is so cool. And then we took the information, I think you shared it, and distributed it to everyone representing all of these towns. And some of them are interested in implementing it. Partly because it gets people out and socially engaged, and that is the sort of the quiet part of that. So people become socially isolated, they sit at home, and then you can say, oh, but you could volunteer, and by the way, if you volunteer this many hours, well, people get out and they get engaged and they meet other people, and it's enriching for people.
Yeah.
So Darien has a strong at-home in Darien program, and they have a strong senior center, and I can find out if they're going to do that. But again, I don't think the program's broken, and I would be happy to talk to Michelle or Ronnie and put a page together to say, here's what's great, here's where we see maybe there's a potential gap. And if they think there's a tweak operationally, as we went through it the last time, it's not even at three-quarter capacity of what it's funded for, and so again, it's not broken.
I had a great thought. It just went in and out. Apparently, it wasn't a great thought then. I'm kind of partially coming to agree with Paul. Is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't think we were trying to fix it because I think that's Michelle and Ronnie's area to make a determination. If the volunteers don't like it, they'll complain to them, not us. Fortunately, some of us are them, so at least we're in a position to have some knowledge of it. Okay, I guess we could beat this up all day. It's not worth it. Not worth it now, at any rate. But we'll just let it lie, see where it goes, see what the first selectman and the group that is evaluating the reimbursement plans or all the volunteer plans come up with, and we'll go from there. The one thing I don't want us to do is just overstep our bounds of where Michelle and Ronnie are involved, because it's so easy to do. We have to look at things on a town-wide basis, and that's tough to deal with too. Okay.
Well, it's a town program, and so if it is to be improved or modified or tweaked in any way, the recommendations should come from the people who are running the senior center, because they're the people who are in the operational side of it.
Oh, yeah, not us.
Right.
No. We could agree with
So-
and help promote, but other than that, does anyone have anything else they'd care to discuss, kick around, or not? Lynn?
As an aside, the invitation that we probably all received
for the
to
dinner.
that buffet dinner,
Yes.
I just have a comment about it. I did go last year, was the first time. It's a very, very nice function. And it's a full house, and it's really, it's something that the town doesn't have. Mrs. Tesoro and the town doesn't, the town doesn't have to do something like this, So last year that I went, Mark and I went, and all. So I was just putting in a word for it, that I think it's a nice function and nice for us to, if anyone is available, to go to that dinner, because people asked why are you here, and whatever, and so forth, and it was really, it's very nice. It's only 2 hours. It's at 6:30, 8:30. Everyone is gone,
Yeah. And what's also interesting is how the first selectman makes it a point to stop at every table and say hello and thank you.
She does, and she's gone.
Yeah.
That's it.
But
And
it's,
the parking lot starts to get cleared at 8:30.
boy, it must be older people. Didn't you get an email, Paul?
It's February 20th.
Paul, if you didn't get that email, I'll forward it to you. Oh, okay. That's a good note to end on. Thank you for that, Lynn. If there's nothing else that anyone cares to mention or speak of, might we have a suggestion to adjourn the meeting?
Concerns for seniors, does anybody know, does the town have a snow shoveling program where, is there anything to try to get kids, you know, as we used to do back in the day.
Funny you should mention that. Do you understand? I got an email from Nancy. Nancy Lucas used to be here. She is now in a community that I guess does everything for the outside. And she suggested, is there any program that kids could help seniors? And I know that the school has they have to get so many community hours in for whatever credit. The problem is getting the kids there in the cold weather and in the snow. I mean, I don't know. That's one of the reasons why kids don't really volunteer at the senior center. First of all, it's a totally different age group. I'm sure sometimes they appreciate it, but there's a different age group, and there really aren't that many things for them to do. Whereas the library utilizes a lot of those kids to a lot of kids for a lot of different things, putting books away, sorting books, whatever. The library is a pretty big organization. A lot of things that have to be done, a lot of little things. Whereas the senior center has those. We have a volunteer group for that. And as a matter of fact, the library is the only other group that I'm aware of that has volunteers. And I think there might be like 2, if 3 adult volunteers. The rest are youths. Lynn?
We get high school volunteers, high school kids volunteering in
I've
the
seen some.
pantry.
Yeah.
That works out. I think,
The hours also with the school and what
Yeah.
hours that were open.
right, and sometimes, I think we just had, I didn't see it, but a father coming in with his son, and they did work in some work.
A father and son? That's interesting. That's nice.
He brought him, and well, we've had that before too, where the parents bring them in and so forth. It's not a lot, but it works. Sometimes it's busier than others. It depends on if they need that community service for
Yeah.
and so forth. But we do get them in the pantry.
I know we get
Yeah.
them, but not to the degree of the library.
Well, we can only accommodate so
Well,
it's,
true,
You
yeah.
know, we can't accommodate more than 1 or 2 at a time, really.
But if it weren't for the library and the senior center, I don't know what other volunteers are in the town, if any.
I don't know. I mean, I guess different departments don't ask for
Right.
volunteers, and they'd rather have maybe a paid employee, and so forth. Be a combination of things.
I'm sure there's multiple reasons, and it's above our pay grade. But did someone make a motion to adjourn this meeting? Eve?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Eve made the motion, and Eve seconded. Eves. Thank you.